Man, welcome. Wow, I held on to it a little bit that time, Andrew. How you doing, buddy? How's it going?
You barely held on to it. You are
And I
no
didn't even
Whitney.
say what we're welcome to. Welcome to TNA Top 10, episode 27. Okay,
Has
your
it
turn. Go ahead.
has it
Yeah.
been 27 episodes already?
It has been. It's more than 27 weeks. We had to figure our crap out for a couple of weeks. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
Peek behind the curtain, folks. Eastern North Carolina has shitternet available for the high price. Thank you, inflation. And that's all we're going to say about that. So here we are again, trying it on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. Terry, look at this sunburn. You see what this is?
no,
This
you're
is
small,
from
buddy.
this is from being outside. All right. I was outside today. I was cutting grass. I've got this lawnmower. I bought it last year. Cub Cadet, because I got away from the Troy bill. $419. Okay. $419 for a post-COVID lawnmower. Absolutely
Ooh,
ridiculous. But anyway, I told you
I'll pay a guy.
I had a fun joke to open the story with. So or the show with. So I'm sitting out here cutting the grass and I get the lawnmower started and I make a lap and all of a sudden the lawnmower quits. And I check the filter, the oil, the gas, everything's fine. I start pulling on that damn string and pulling on it and pulling on it and pulling on it. And then I Monday through Friday did. I'm sitting there pulling on it some more. And it reminded me of a joke I heard one time. And for the purpose of this story, little Terry is on his bicycle riding around the neighborhood. And he comes upon the pastor's house, the local pastor's house. And he sees the local pastor doing exactly what I was doing, pulling on the lawnmower. And he says, "Hey, pastor, you're doing that wrong." He says, "What do you mean I'm doing it wrong?" He said, "Every time my daddy goes to start the lawnmower, he's cussing and screaming and hollering." And the pastor says to the little boy, little Terry, he says, "Well, little Terry, it's been so long since I've cussed, I don't know that I remember how. I remember." He said, "Keep pulling on that string, pastor. It'll come back to you." So there you go. The believe me, I remembered how. And I was sitting there hollering at this thing, which, by the way, yelling at an inanimate object in your backyard only makes you look like an idiot for anybody playing along at home.
That's true, but guess what? We've got an audience of sorts tonight. We have added a third. Allison, the producer, has
The
joined
third
us. Is
woman, third
helping us
man.
out. That
Yeah, but
way we can stay on time. And we're probably already beyond time on the intro, but you know how that works. Allison, I heard a little rumor that John Cena was naked at the Oscars this week. What's your thoughts on that one? We got a thumbs up from Allison there.
naked, NEKKID, because we are Southern. Naked. He was naked at the Oscars.
So apparently it's the 50th anniversary of a streaker coming out on the stage at the Oscars. And Jimmy Kimmel is hosting, and he says, "It sure would be interesting if a naked man came out on stage tonight." And he kind of sat there a minute. And then he said, "I said, it sure would be interesting if a naked man came out on the stage tonight." And then you see John Cena's head pop up in the back and say, "Hey, Jimmy, I don't think I can do it. I don't want to do this anymore. The male body is not a joke, Jimmy." And Jimmy Kimmel says, "Mine is." And then, so John Cena gave out the award for best costume designer, sans
Yeah.
clothes. So that was pretty
Yes.
well done, I thought.
Sans clothes. He still had a modesty cover on. Everybody don't freak out. He really wasn't naked. That was the whole idea. But John Cena at 46 years old is in fantastic shape and a favorite of the TNA Top 10 podcast for multiple reasons. So there you are, Terry.
Okay, moving on before this gets scary. Why don't you tell me about Super Tuesday there, Andrew?
Well, let me ask you this. What's there to talk about? It's a two-man race. We got what old white guy is going to win the election again this year? And of course, it's Donald Trump and it's Joe Biden. Super Tuesday, traditionally the biggest primary in the country, 17 states. Actually, this year was only 15 states up for grabs. Trump in a runaway, imagine that, against Nikki Haley, who bowed out of the race the next day. Joe Biden actually did have some competition. Non-option was or not listed was a person that received votes, an entity that received votes on the Biden front. Um, Republican, Democrat, the minor candidates don't matter. Here's why. They're not going to get the funding. They're not going to get the advertising. They're not going to get the publicity. It's a two-man race based on things in the country. It's probably Trump's to lose, even though he's going to court for a bunch of crimes here coming up. I don't know.
They do matter though, and here's why they matter. They may be a stumbling block for somebody. I mean, I think the classic thing.
I said a lot of things.
That
What are you
third-party
talking
candidate.
about? Pronouns.
You
pal.
said that the third party candidates don't matter.
Oh.
So they do matter.
No, third party candidates
so-
absolutely do not matter and have not since
Well, they will if they
1992.
keep the guy that's closest to them from getting elected. If they steal some of those votes.
1992, Ross Perot spent $60 million of his own money to get 19 million votes that essentially swung the election in many ways for for William Jefferson Clinton as opposed to George H.W. Bush. I get it. I understand that. But Super Tuesday meant nothing this year. The election means nothing. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. It's Trump and it's Biden. It's no new ideas. It's more of the same. And I voted against democratic socialism, as I have proudly will tell people I do. They do not align themselves with the values that this country was founded on. And quite frankly, nobody in Washington represents the values that this country was founded on. So the next item we have in the same week is the State of the Union address. Can we just call it a dumpster fire or a shit show? No, we have to go out for 90 minutes and we stand and we applaud. And the Speaker of the House is making faces behind Biden the whole time. And Biden probably had a couple energy drinks. And I mean, because he managed to make it through without needing his Ovaltine. And then the next day just told everybody he was running for Congress in Pennsylvania or someplace. I don't remember where.
Is it bad that I have both energy drinks and Ovaltine in this house?
Well, you're old. We've established that on the show. So it checks out for you. But the State of the Union, honestly, what is it? It was always a speech where the president was going to lay out his plan for the next year, talking to Congress, talking to the justices. You got the designated survivor and all this stuff. And anymore, it's just a dog and pony show. You've got what's her face, Marjorie from Georgia, yelling at Biden to say her name about the immigrant get killed. It's just one of those things where I don't think it's necessary any longer. I know it's tradition, but I don't think it's necessary. How many debates do you actually think you're going to see between Biden and Trump this year? And that is part of the quote political traditions. So it's okay to scrap them in 2024. We don't need to.
Well, things have changed. I mean, it's like a lot of things. Like All-Star games used to be a big deal because we didn't get to see these guys all the time. But we can watch every single game on TV all the time. And we're not, I mean, we see these guys anytime we want to. It used to be a big deal. It's the same thing. We hear Biden all the time now.
Yep. Or Trump or Haley or whoever,
Right.
Whatever politician you want to follow, you can follow pretty easily. So I don't think it matters. I think it's dumb. I think November is going to be another dumpster fire shit show. Yep. And I'm done talking about politics because everybody knows where I'm at, and that's on the train. So there we are.
So, yeah, sorry, I got a little messed up there. So, let's change to sports. We are kind of sports based here. Did you see that brawl between South Carolina and LSU the other day between the women? I mean, not only was it a brawl, and there were some things said afterward.
Well, here's the problem. They think that women's basketball is not worth watching, and then this happens. You ain't seeing that in no men's games. I love women's basketball. South Carolina, what a powerhouse. Kim Mulkey, of course, the coach for LSU. What a character with the peacock outfits and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. She comes out strutting ass, and she's obviously 3 or 4 times won a national championship. Of course, I forget her name now. The South Carolina coach, 105-2 over the last 3 seasons. Absolutely insane record that South Carolina has.
Dawn Staley.
That's it, Dawn Staley.
I keep getting it mixed up with Nikki Haley. They're too close. We keep talking about similar things with rhyming names, and I can't do it.
Don Staley apologized for it, but she also said, sometimes that's the way it goes in these sort of games when they're
Yeah.
like this. And I mean, LSU's a great basketball team. South Carolina, though, is probably once again the team to beat. And you better
Yeah, and
have
they
beat.
almost got beat, but they won by a buzzer beater the night before. So let me break it down for you in case you didn't see it. So toward the end of the women's SEC final, South Carolina was up 73-66 with 2:08 left in the game. South Carolina stole the ball from LSU's Flau'jae Johnson. That's a tough name to say.
You
And then
nailed it.
yeah, and then one of the South Carolina one of the LSU players fouled her intentionally, fouled the South Carolina player intentionally. It was called an intentional foul eventually, but one of the South Carolina players was pumped up about the steal and started coming over to her teammate, excited about it. Well, the LSU player, Flau'jae Johnson, that got the ball stolen from her, was kind of snippy about it and kind of a little bit of a shove. Well, South Carolina's got this beast of a girl, Camila Cardoso, really big girl compared to her, to Johnson, and just comes over and just decks her, throws her on the floor. It's boom, and then the two teams come out on the floor. Somebody's brother jumps from the stands out on the floor. It escalated quickly, but I got to say the refs and the coaches, I guess, kind of pulled them away. It didn't last that long. Didn't see a bunch of punches thrown or anything, so it did get controlled. The announcer's like, "Oh, we don't want this," and that's true. Not in the, this is definitely not just some random game. This is the SEC Women's Final, so it's all over the nation. Kim Mulkey had some comments after the game. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on this. I kind of see her point, but at the same time, I got to argue. She said, "Don't push a kid," calling Flau'jae Johnson a kid because she's small. And she said, "Don't push somebody that little. That was uncalled for, in my opinion. Let those two girls that were jawing, let them go at it." My deal is, hey, if you're little, don't be pushing anybody.
Yeah, those little
Once you start pushing, once you start a fight, you're in it.
yeah, the little basketball players don't recognize their size. Legitimately. They don't. And my thing about Kim Mulkey is she's right. Let him go. Let him go. Who
Yeah,
cares? Let him go. But don't complain about it after the fact. That's my thing. And I love the line that was included. I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese. Okay. Angel Reese's hood. Like, if anybody saw the finals
yeah.
last year when LSU defeated Iowa and stole it from Caitlin, what's her face, that had to come back and beat Nebraska in the Big Ten championship same weekend. I forget her name though. Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, Clark.
Yeah, she's best shooter in the game in
Oh,
women's
yeah.
basketball. But
All-time leading scorer now, yes.
took it to overtime against Nebraska, so it's what it took for them to win. But anyway, uh, Reese did the whole "you can't see me." We talked about John Cena to open the show. She did the whole "you can't see me" at the end of the game last year. She's got a little hood in her, obviously.
She
So that
does.
might be why Mulkey said that. But I mean, it's a women's basketball game. It's a high level women's basketball game. Tempers are going to flare, but don't riot. Don't clear the benches. Not really necessary. So,
Yeah.
anyway, next up, because we are a sports oriented show, the baseball. Specifically, God's team, Terry, the New York fucking Yankees. Let's talk about the Yankees and the Braves since you're a Braves guy. Braves jump all over the Yankees early. Yankees come back and win 9-8. That was a great uh win by the Yankees, and they're not players. Those guys aren't going to make the team. It's okay, but they had a great win. Of course, Giancarlo had a hit that was important.
Of
Judge had a
course he
hit.
did.
Yeah, I'm paying
Well, and
attention.
Judge is a little banged up now. I think that he's day to day at the moment, but they say he's going to be back by opening day. That's what I hear. Garrett Cole's going to have an MRI. So the Yankees already starting to suffer a bit.
Well,
We'll see how long that lasts.
here's the problem. Outside of the Braves, the Yankees probably have the best offense in baseball. The Braves offensive lineup is absolutely ridiculous. However, the Yankees do not have a good defense when their pitchers are going down in spring training. That's not good. The MRI is not good. I told Allison to relax. It's okay. It's just a picture. Don't worry about the fact they're
She's
MRI
like,
and this
I've got
guy.
more experience as a Yankees fan. You shut up. I know what I'm talking about.
but the bottom line is the Yankees are hard to compete with when they get going. They really are. But the same thing can be said about the Braves. When the Braves went on that tear at the end of the year last year,
Yeah.
they looked like the team that was going to win the World Series, and the Rangers ended up taking it all the way home. So
They're good at being really good in the regular season and then choking in one of the series in the postseason. Hey, I've got plenty of experience with that. So
well, it's what we saw last year. I mean, the
tell you.
Braves,
Yeah.
once they got them bats turning, they'd run 5, 6, 7
Yeah.
runs on something. You're like, are we watching baseball or is this something a little faster? You know,
But what
like
breaks my heart though, the Dodgers. The Dodgers are 12-3 in spring training with Freddie Freeman, and that is so
yep.
heartbreaking for a Braves fan to see Freddie Freeman doing so well in L.A.
Well, and you said a 55 run differential too. That is humongous. I
Yeah,
understand it's spring training, but
it's huge.
that's swinging them bats, buddy.
But here's the bottom line on that one, though. As the great Lou Brown said, against a guy who'll be bagging groceries in a couple of weeks. So
I
let's slow it down a bit.
love the kids of the Cuyahoga, but by the way, they did get the best pitcher from the California Penal League too. Don't forget. And play Wild Thing for everybody to sing along with.
More on that in a few weeks.
Hey, spoiler alert, fans. Opening week or opening day for baseball, we will be covering baseball. Surprise, surprise. Go ahead, Terry, with what do we got next?
So, we talked about the Brawl and the women's tournament. There are so many Division One basketball teams that we would never be able to keep up with that. That's why we only really do the football polls. But there are 32 men's conference basketball tournaments starting on March 5th and ending on March 17th. And one of them is right here in Huntsville. And I didn't even know until I started doing research. Conference USA is at the Von Braun Center from the 12th to the 16th. Had no clue. It's not something we got signs all over the place for, but there are so many tournaments. They could be right in your backyard and you don't know it. The SEC tournaments in Nashville from the 13th to the 17th. And the ones to watch are the obvious ones. You got the big four in football, SEC, Big 10, ACC, Big 12, but then you got the Big East in basketball still. The Big East went away in football, but they're still going strong in basketball.
UConn.
Yeah, and UConn's really, really showing it for that conference.
Great basketball team. Great basketball team.
One thing I thought was interesting,
Men
most
and
of
women.
these conferences, they pick a city and they all go there to do their tournament. But the America East and the A-Sun, they play on campus for their postseason tournament. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, a lot of times I think Greensboro's been in the rotation, that sort of thing. Obviously, living here in North Carolina, it is basketball country out here.
Yep.
They may not win very many football games at any of the big universities, although they've been okay these last few years. But Duke Carolina game Saturday night was everything you expected. Carolina come out guns blazing, blazing. And of course, Duke chipped away, came back, got within 5, I think, and they lost the game at Duke over there at Duke Stadium or field. But that's probably your rematch, honestly, in the ACC tournament. They're the two best teams far and away, unless you get somebody that gets hot. The ACC is pretty much a 2-man race. Now, Virginia will make the tournament. Clemson will probably make the tournament. State will make the tournament. But as far as who are the 2 best teams, it's Duke Carolina, and it's Carolina. They're probably only going to get a 2 seed. They're not going to get good enough to get a 1 seed. But here's the other game I want to mention because we talk about the Big 12. Bill Self, probably the most dominant head coach in the Big 12 ever. 17 out of 20 Big 12 championships. His team took a 30-point loss to the number one Houston basketball team Saturday. 30 points. Terry, we watch a lot of basketball. When have you ever seen Bill Self's team take a 30-point L?
Not often, but it seems like home court advantage has gotten bigger
Yep.
recently. I mean, it
Yep.
is huge.
It's huge. And Nebraska, as an example, another basketball team story.
Right.
Their coach is Big Ten Coach of the Year, and they got the 3 seed in the Big Ten behind Purdue and Illinois. They're going to be the 3 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Absolutely ridiculous that the basketball team is doing better than the football team, because we don't believe in playing basketball in Nebraska. That's why we were all Jayhawks fans.
Well,
anyway.
That's kind of like how we are at Auburn. We've been good at basketball before, and when I was going to school there, Auburn was preseason #1 on the ESPN poll. I still never went to a regular season Auburn basketball game.
Of course you didn't.
I mean,
but you talk about the SEC, because I know we want to, we're trying to stay on time for anybody that is paying attention to our videos, because they do get long and we get long-winded. But you talk about the
imagine
SEC,
that.
Auburn, LSU, Kentucky that can win on the road, Tennessee that plays good basketball, Alabama that'll shoot the lights out if you let them. The SEC is probably the strongest conference this year as a whole. In terms of, the problem is they've committed cannibalism in that they keep beating each other. There's not a
Kentucky's
real
coming on strong. That's the thing. Kentucky was like the 4th best team for much of the season, and all of a sudden, in the last couple of weeks, they've started coming on strong.
Well, don't let John Calipari fool you. He still knows how to win basketball games, buddy. So, I mean, as Amy would say, go Big Blue, because she's excited about it.
Well, speaking of the SEC, Andrew, Coach Saban might have retired, but he didn't shut up. What are you thinking about his recent comments, bud?
Buddy, it's going to be a ripple effect. It's going to continue to be the butterfly effect. We got Ted Cruz coming out this morning saying that there's going to be legislation potentially on the college of football and the way that players are paid and that sort of thing. Saban talking about the game, the semifinal against Michigan, and how his players didn't lose well. And that's always been a Saban thing, is that you can win well, but you've got to be able to lose well too. And the man didn't lose very often, 29 times in 17 years. Mm-hmm. He sent more football players to the first round of the NFL draft than L's he took as the head coach at the University of Alabama. So remember that. 44 first-round picks, 29 losses. And if you beat Nick Saban, as you can tell us, Terry, you done something, because Auburn was 3-5. Current coach beat him twice back to back at Ole Miss, so it does happen. But Saban and his comments, if anybody missed it, the conversations became about how much playing time am I getting and how much money am I making. He had said it for months now that there's no longer a student athlete. You are a paid employee of the school. And that is becoming much more complex legally with the NIL. As I just mentioned, Ted Cruz talking about there going to be some sort of governing regulations over NILs and payments and that sort of stuff. But I know we're 6 months away too. Spring practice is already opened, and DeBoer is running his hot offense. Apparently, he's going to let the assistant coaches talk to the media. There's not going to be so much swearing, which I'm not a fan of. We
got a regular Tony Dungy in Tuscaloosa down there.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, but I can tell you this: as long as Nick Saban is around, they're going to advise. He's going to be an advisor.
Well, he's got an office inside the.
Yeah, DeBoer's never going to actually get rid of him, and the problem with that is it will never be DeBoer's football team.
Yeah, that's. Well, I will say that compared to when Bear Bryant retired, Alabama tried to hang on to the Bryant years for a very long time, and it messed them up. Mm-hmm. And that's why when they hired Nick Saban, they were putting Bryant behind them to let Saban have control and move forward. And they did pretty good because DeBoer is different from Saban.
Very, very, yes, sir.
But there's that little bit of connection there with Saban still having an office there. Like you said, it's not going to be quite 100%, and we'll see
Mm-mm.
how that interferes.
Well, no, and of course he's going to be on game day. He's going to make comments.
And
He's
he
a
will
reg.
pick against Alabama. I don't care what you say.
He's not going to pick on Alabama against Alabama. Roll Tide, and of course our man Pat McAfee. He's a favorite guest of Pat McAfee because Pat McAfee loves to pick his brain and just
Yeah.
And now Saban's finally starting to tell a few stories here and there, stories that he wouldn't necessarily tell when he was the head coach. He's finally starting to open up and be more of a media personality. So, by the way, virtual meet and greet autograph for Nick Saban, $250.
Honestly, I thought it would be more.
At
Like
250
250.
bucks.
That's
Yeah.
doable.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't want to speak for everybody, obviously. There's a lot of trailers in Alabama. Anyway, moving on, we've got what I don't really know how to diagnose quite yet, because you got Mike Tyson, who's pretty old, but he is still Mike freaking Tyson against Jake Paul. I mean, are we gonna and Jake Paul, you can't just say he's a Paul brother and he's done some good things in boxing. He's proven himself to some degree. But Mike Tyson is a different level. I don't care how old he is. He's
M-
um he's a beast.
Mike Tyson, for my money, the greatest knockout artist in the history of boxing. Um, I don't know if all of our listeners are aware. I mean, we got a lot of sports fans on the podcast here listening to us. But back in the 80s and 90s, he hooked up with Don King. And he became Mike Tyson, being he, pronouns, pal. He became the king of pay per view.
Yeah.
People wanted to see Mike. People were paying $50 and $60 for a Mike Tyson fight in the late 1980s and 90s. Okay,
For
that's a
15 seconds or 20
and
seconds
that
sometimes.
was what I
Yeah.
was getting to, and the fight would be over before the first round. And
I remember
I
those socks that Leon Spinks wore when he got his butt kicked in a few seconds.
toe curling knockout 15 20 30 40 seconds.
Yeah.
I think his one title defense made it to the fifth round, and when he hit that guy, I don't remember which boxer it was, but when he hit him so hard the guy fell flat, toes curled, and ended up on the bottom rope of the boxing ring. I
Who
mean,
was
it
that
was
guy?
ridiculous. The dude was much taller than Tyson, but Tyson just kept coming and coming
Yeah.
and coming, and he curled his damn toes. And for anybody that doesn't know, if you get knocked out, your toes will curl,
So
and you lose complete consciousness when that happens. Tyson was making a mint doing this, and Don King was taking
oh
50% of
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, just took him to
Ridiculous.
the damn cleaner. But here's what I will say, because you all know that I am an Instagram aficionado and I love the reels. But I watched Mike Tyson put some snap on that punch. 57 years old or not, Terry, the dollar figure for me would be seven figures to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
It'd be a lot.
Nothing less than $1 million, and I before I take a punch from Mike Tyson. And I'm 20 years younger than he is. I ain't taking the damn punch from Mike Tyson. Now, to Jake Paul, like his brother Logan, these are naturally athletic people. The thing that they can do is make 100
Yeah.
million bucks. How do you make 100 million bucks? You put the greatest boxer of all time back in the ring, or knockout artist, probably not boxer, but knockout artist, and you put him against a loudmouth like Jake Paul and let the feeding frenzy begin. And then, in my opinion, you partner him with WWE, because why not? That's TKO, parent company. Logan Paul's already there. Have Tyson, who's an avid wrestling fan, hop on Monday Night Raw and knock out Logan Paul and tell Jake Paul you're next. Just something like that. Same way he did Michaels in WrestleMania '98 at the Boston Garden. Big
You
money
know,
match, huge money on this thing.
something that comes to mind, obviously Tyson was dominating in the 80s and he went to prison and all that stuff and then came back and he's been a badass the whole time. But I can't think of Mike Tyson without thinking of video games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Punch Out was amazing. And
Yep.
I'm thinking in our future, we're going to see some kind of favorite sports video games top 10 hit our show, because I think that would be a good program.
That'd be a great one. And so many of people our age remember Punch Out. Let's be honest
Yeah,
about it. I mean,
it's great.
Tyson was
Even the
great.
codes. I mean, it's like people just recite the codes to get to Tyson, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and like I said, this match will be fun. Do not sleep on 57 or 8-year-old Mike Tyson. I promise.
Not at all.
They call it a puncher's chance for a reason. If he connects, Jake Paul will be in trouble.
It's just like the video game. One
Yeah.
punch and you're down.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they call it knockout, And who knows, too, before we move on, what the rules of this will look like. Is this an exhibition? Is this I mean, I don't know. If this is a straight up boxing match, Tyson looks to be in phenomenal shape. I know he's quit drinking. Yeah. He's quit smoking the dope.
Oh, is that what it takes? I guess I'm in trouble there.
He's quit all of that, buddy, and he's ready to rock and roll. And let's face it, who has a better uppercut and right cross than Mike Tyson? Pretty bad.
Nobody.
So I don't know. It's gonna be ugly. It'd be very ugly. Could be. But moving on from the other ring that we love so much, or moving on to the other ring we love so much, and something not ugly but very beautiful. The Rainmaker, Okada, has made his debut in AEW and did so as a heel. So for those of you playing along at home, he's a bad guy now. This is a huge, huge, huge move. For those that may or may not know that like wrestling but don't understand how big this is, Okada is Ricky Dozan. He's Giant Baba. He's Inoki. He's Muda. He's Tanahashi. This is a guy who is Japanese wrestling. And he is now in the United States working for All Elite Wrestling, which is pretty much, that brand is more oriented, I believe, towards New Japan style of wrestling. But signed $4.5 million a year to wrestle as a professional wrestler. The contract is 3 years, $4.5 million, according to our buddy Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful. And supposed to be moving the family stateside. I mean, that means he's all in, because the wife had a baby last year, if not the year before. The baby's not very old, and he didn't get married that long ago. And he's uprooting them from his home in Japan to the United States. That is a heck of an investment.
Yeah, and AEW's making a big move here with Okada, and they just added Ospreay. I mean, big competitions to AEW here.
They got 2 of the top 5 wrestlers in the world in a week and a half. And they got 2 of the top 5 Japanese wrestlers ever.
The producer is saying Mercedes Moné is about to hit.
Well, it's Boston.
There, producer.
Yeah, it's Boston, but it's going to fall flat because they've oversold it. They've advertised it. At least Okada was a semi-surprise. They didn't bring him out in Charlotte, or Greensboro rather, which was a little shocking to me. But I guess they didn't necessarily have a place for him. If they're going to pair him with the Bucks, you can't have him do that right after Sting's retirement match. But yeah, Okada hits the Rainmaker. He plays the heel. He's going after Eddie Kingston in the Triple Crown. And I promise you, Eddie Kingston's going to drop those titles to Okada. And you're going to see the belt collector again.
Makes sense.
This time it's going to be Okada, not Omega. But the one thing as professional wrestling fans this sets up, especially stateside, because a lot of people didn't watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, you're going to have Okada and Ospreay, Okada and Omega, Okada and Danielson. You can have Okada and people like Garcia, Daniel Garcia, the young guy, either Yuta. Obviously, they're going to put him against Kingston. There is a lot in the weaponry that you can do with Okada. And, I forgot, Hangman. They can put him with Hangman. If they can get Ibushi's ankle to heal, they can bring Ibushi back in, and you can get that match over here. Although it almost looks like Ibushi probably needs to retire just because the injury bug, keeps getting him. But I'm very excited for the Rainmaker. The coin drop was perfect. The turn was a little less than, but that's because Eddie Kingston didn't didn't react properly, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I would almost imagine April, if not the pay-per-view Double or Nothing, he's taking those 3 belts and they're going back to the Elite, since that's who he's with. But anyway, a lot of fun. Okada will be somebody that everybody needs to watch if you're not familiar with his work.
Yeah, and it is interesting the timing here because this is WrestleMania season, right? And AEW to get in the media at the moment, that's big
Yeah.
because, the WWE is definitely in the media right now. So much so that we've got some big additions here to the Hall of Fame coming up.
Yeah,
Or at least one.
huge additions to the Hall of Fame. I think all 4. Opening the announcement was Paul Heyman, the advocate, the special counsel, the wise man, who started as a photographer, super fan, photographer, manager, rebel, visionary. Then he became the advocate, a special counsel, and he's the wise man now.
Right.
Very well deserved. And you don't think Philadelphia is going to eat it up? That Paul freaking Heyman, the founder,
perfect place
operator
for this to happen.
of ECW.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get Todd Gordon was involved in ECW, don't get me wrong, but no one goes to Todd Gordon first when they think ECW. They go to
It's
Paul Heyman.
Yeah,
it's Paul Heyman.
Absolutely.
The promo, the heat, the manage. Think of the guys he's managed. You want to do a top 10? Let's do a top 10 wrestlers Paul Heyman has managed. Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, the STS, of course, Sabu, or Samoan SWAT team, SST, excuse me, Sabu, Rob Van Dam, Taz. I mean, you go on and on and on with the wrestlers. CM Punk, that Paul Heyman has been a mouthpiece for.
So what is your thought, the timing of this? So obviously we've seen all of the stuff hit about McMahon.
Again,
Brock
and it hit again yesterday.
Yeah.
Well,
Brock has been removed, basically. He was going to be in the Royal Rumble, and then he wasn't. That seems to be a response to that.
He's reinstated. He's back on, and he's been advertised for next week Raw.
Okay. So I'm just curious.
At least that's according to social media. But he's supposed to be advertised next week.
We talk about Cody and Cody's story hitting at WrestleMania. Right? So I guess there's multiple options with Paul Heyman here. Obviously, he's part of the oh goodness, I can't even think about it. The
Bloodline?
Roman Reigns. Yeah, the Bloodline. Sorry. I don't know things off the top of my head all the time. But anyway, obviously he's a big part of the Bloodline. And with Cody's story hitting, and the expectation is Cody ends the reign of Roman Reigns. Do we see a breakup of the Bloodline, and what does that mean for Paul Heyman? I don't know what we expect from Brock. I didn't even know he was announced. I was kind of curious whether he would come back or not, but what is Paul Heyman doing next? Okay, you're muted. Okay. So now let's build up. So you were about to reply to thoughts on what happens next with Paul Heyman, and go.
Yeah. So the idea with actually Brock Lesnar, I wanted to come back to touch on that just a second, because it's not confirmed, I guess, even though that's what was reported last night. But this is what it says. Brian Alvarez reporting WWE's making moves to bring back Brock Lesnar. In the last few days, there have been moves regarding Lesnar. If you listened to the show last night with Dave Meltzer, everything we talked about is accurate other than the roster page. There are movements to bring him back. I should add regarding Brock, I'm not saying he's going to be back. I have no idea if he's coming back. I wouldn't bring him back, but I can tell you that there have been a lot of inquiries. So one of the things they were talking about is that Heyman was with Lesnar for so long that you cannot just skip that part of Paul Heyman's career, because Brock Lesnar is now possibly a bad actor that got shit caught on him, no pun intended, because of Vince McMahon. So
Lord.
that was the bigger concern, is Brock Lesnar is a Hall of Famer himself.
Yeah.
But because of the potential, the lawsuit accusations and that sort of thing, the civil action, there was concern that you're all of a sudden going to delete history, basically, because Paul Heyman brought Lesnar in 2002, and they had that amazing run together. I don't know what you do about that. I can say this: Lesnar was one that benefited from Paul Heyman.
Yeah,
The
definitely. He
promo,
needed him.
the heat, the management. He needed a Paul Heyman
Yeah.
because as a raw bone wrestler, there was nobody better than Lesnar. 105
Right.
collegiate wins
Yeah,
at
it's
the
not like
University of
CM
Minnesota.
Punk who can talk on his own. Lesnar needs
Correct.
a mouthpiece.
But Brock Lesnar, again, to me, Hall of Fame talent. Unfortunately, scandal has come again. Last night, on this topic, because we're talking about the scandal, Stephanie McMahon, Nick Khan, the COO, and the head of the legal department, whose names I don't remember, have all been identified as employees 1, 2, 3, and 4 named in that lawsuit. So it's not necessarily that they knew what Vince was doing with this woman, it's that they tried to cover it up, apparently, is what the bad acting was in this case. So we will probably, just for our fans, let this kind of come out, and figure out what it all means, and maybe discuss it next week. I don't know. It was
Right.
such a
Yeah, we'll
it,
figure it
it
out.
wasn't a bad episode on our part. It was such a horrible thing to talk about.
It
I don't
was.
know
It
that
was
I
our
don't
only asshole of the week that we've ever done.
Yeah, I don't know that we want to go down that road again, but all of this information is starting to come to light. So,
Yeah. We'll stick with champ
and
of the week, I think.
normally, yeah, yeah, normally a-hole Andy from New York takes asshole of the week because I went to the Sam's Club members only jackets involved, the whole thing. But moving on from Paul Heyman, or moving to you on Paul Heyman, I don't think there's a better pick to be your headliner, because who wants to follow Paul Heyman's induction speech?
I don't think anybody.
Dusty
Not at all.
Rhodes 2007. Dusty Rhodes 2007 was the headliner of the class. Do you think anybody wanted to follow Dusty? Not a
No, not at
chance.
all. Not at all. No chance.
2012, the Horsemen headed up the class. Do you think anybody wanted to follow the Horsemen?
Well, there's
No
a
way.
name on here that probably could,
Yeah,
but unfortunately, we won't get to hear that speech. That would be amazing.
correct. But I mean, I think Paul Heyman's your headliner, and I am so happy for the next inductee. Unless you have anything else on Heyman, I'll move forward.
No, we're good.
Bull Nakano, what a
This is
badass!
big. This is great.
Huge.
It's
This is
about time.
awesome. Bull Nakano and Alundra Blaze were women's wrestling for a very long time. Alundra Blaze, of course, is Medusa. But I mean, Bull Nakano, big boned, big muscled woman, strong, would do some crazy ass shit like jumping off the top of a steel cage with a guillotine leg drop.
Right.
Um, her hair, the makeup, all of that, just part of this look. But she really was a pioneer, and without her, Medusa would not be Medusa, and that is 100% a fact. But Bull Nakano was one of those wrestlers. They talk about the airport look. Are you
Mm-hmm.
going to turn your head in
Oh
the
yeah,
airport?
definitely.
Bull
Make an
Nakano
impression.
make you turn your head. I promise
Absolutely.
you.
Was she
And
on our top 10 face painted wrestlers? I know
she
she
was
was a
not.
choice.
She
Okay.
did not make it.
Okay.
But Asuka did, and that kind of makes sense because Asuka has such a good
Right.
relationship with Bull.
And Nakano had face paint, but it wasn't prominent.
Her hair was almost more important than the face paint,
Yeah, that's
honestly,
true.
to
That's
to the
true.
look, because she did
Yeah.
the Marge Simpson, but she did it in a straight, I mean, it was straight up.
Yeah.
But I love Bull Nakano. I am so happy she's finally being recognized. And it's no offense to the divas of the WWE because they wrestled in WWE, but there have been women wrestlers that have been overlooked, and she is one of them. And it is
She got a
about
thumbs up
time.
from the producer who is the also the hair aficionado, the wrestling hair aficionado, got a 10 plus. on the hair.
10 plus on the hair, because I mean, who the hell else had their hair worn like that? Nobody. That was the thing.
Nobody.
Everybody comes out with the greasy hair look with the water and the gel and all that, but ain't nobody look like Bull Nakano. Period.
Now, there were a lot of crazy hairstyles in the 80s, so
There
that
were.
did show up. But to stand out in the 80s for big hair, you're doing something.
Well, and the fact she was a woman that could
Yes.
wrestle, that could go.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think there should be men that would afraid to wrestle Bull Nakano. She was tough as nails, and then she became a professional golfer and all sorts of fun stuff. So her life after wrestling is very interesting as well. But I am so excited that Bull Nakano, because she's one of my favorite female wrestlers of all time. Absolutely love Bull Nakano, and it might be my age because when she was wrestling, it was the 90s. I was what, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. You ain't never seen anything like Bull Nakano though in a women's wrestling match. The other thing I love about Bull Nakano, and I'll conclude my thoughts so you can hop in here, Terry. She made wrestling women meaningful. It actually mattered.
Yeah.
Moolah was the champ for 20
And there
whatever.
were a handful. I mean, there were a handful at that point, not nearly as many as there are now.
Right.
And we had a handful that were very good. They just didn't have enough competition to build a whole organization around.
Well, and Moolah was the champ for 27 years, but who the hell did she beat? I mean,
Right.
when did you see her wrestle? And
Well,
that's
not
what
only
I'm saying.
that, she trained her opponents basically.
Yep. And Wendy, like obviously Wendy Richter and Leilani Kai and the rest of them, but Bull and Medusa was like magic in the ring, and they were almost a few years too early. People didn't know what they were getting. They didn't know what. I think we took for granted that it was, it's a women's match.
Mm-hmm.
This was not a women's match you'd seen for the last 30 years in the WWE or the WCW or whatever,
Right.
NWA. This was real wrestling, and I loved it. So,
absolutely,
very happy for Bull. Can't wait to hear her speech. And obviously in Philly, I bet you Philly is a Bull Nakano town. I'm just saying.
I hope so.
I bet you Philly is a Bull Nakano town. And Philly is also the capital of freedom. And what better way than the original team to use Real American and Born in the USA, the U.S. Express, going into the Hall of Fame. Rotunda and Wyndham, for those of you who don't know, they're brothers-in-law. Mike Rotunda was Bray Wyatt's father. There is speculation that Bray Wyatt will be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Not sure if it's too early or not for that, but he certainly is worthy of that distinction. But of course, Barry Windham, best peer worker the Horsemen ever had, obviously a top 5 professional wrestler as a natural, somebody who naturally gets it. There's Barry Windham. There's Dustin Rhodes, excuse me. I think maybe wasn't thinking Danielson. It'll come back to me, but this is rarefied air when you think about how talented Barry Windham was. That in 1986 they trusted him as the Florida heavyweight champion to wrestle Ric Flair and go 60 minutes, and they went 60. And Barry Windham is 6'6" and is delivering top rope suplexes with a float over after drinking Jack Daniels all night long. It's incredible, his wrestling IQ and acumen. Rotunda, long overdue for the Hall of Fame, from the Varsity Club, IRS, obviously the U.S. Express. Rotunda, I mean, what would they have him do? Some goofy gimmicks in WCW, VK Wall Street, and because it was Vince McMahon, so it's Vince Kennedy. They have VK Wall Street and the Admiral or the Captain Mike Rotunda, whatever the hell that was. That was dumb.
But I love the Varsity Club. I mean,
they were so good. And Kevin Sullivan.
It was so good. And the way Rick Steiner came in, and the way he was portrayed, and he had that dog and everything, that was good stuff back then. And
Mike
Rotunda was great.
And don't forget, Mike Rotunda was a 2-sport athlete in college in wrestling and football.
Hmm.
joined by another two-sport athlete in Dr. Death Steve Williams in wrestling and football, who went to 4 consecutive Orange Bowls. And one of the guys that he was assigned to block was some dude named Ron Simmons. Shout out to Dave in the
Yeah, that's tough.
HSV. Um, and then they had Rick Steiner, a legit wrestler and badass, and
Yeah.
of course they're headed up by the devil himself. Hey Terry, you got a number on the socks or what, brother? We need a number on the socks.
Yeah, and we also have listed here, and I kind of talked about it a little bit. Muhammad Ali is also going to be inducted, and that's huge. I mean, that's deserving. It's unfortunate we can't see a promo speech here from Muhammad Ali to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. That would be fantastic. Like when you talked about Heyman, I'm like, Ali could do it. It's unfortunate we won't get to see that.
Yeah, I don't know that Ali could follow Heyman though in professional wrestling. I am that confident. I
That's
don't
a
I
tough one.
I don't know that Heyman or that Ali could follow Heyman. I will say this about Muhammad Ali. I was shocked and did not remember he was not in the Hall of Fame. He was a
Right.
special referee for the first WrestleMania. Huge wrestling fan. Hooked to Hulk Hogan, of course, Madison Square Garden, big deal. And he wasn't in the Hall of Fame. The second thing I will say about Muhammad Ali is his impact in wrestling is clear. There's a guy named Dwayne The Rock Johnson who talks in the third person, who calls himself the Great One, not the greatest, who cuts promos as part of his build up to his matches, the same as Ali did. I'm pretty sure that we were borrowing from the Muhammad Ali presentation and character of the 1960s and 70s, or yeah, 60s and 70s. So, but I will say this: watching them old interviews with Howard Cosell and Muhammad Ali, Ali is so fast, Terry. When he starts making his little poems and his rhymes and his rap, I mean,
Definitely.
he is so fast. It's a damn shame Parkinson's got him, but
Hmm. It is.
I'm gonna tell
And
you,
I
he's
think about when he lit the
strong.
torch at the Olympics and everything. I mean, it had gotten him by that point, and
Yep.
that was sad, but it was good to see him be able to do that. That was pretty fantastic.
Well, he was stabbed. He was a ringside 94 Hogan Flair retirement match October for Halloween Havoc. Even by then, you could tell Muhammad Ali wasn't the same. And then, like you're talking about
Yeah,
in Atlanta a couple years later, it was even more evident that Muhammad
yeah,
Ali was
definitely.
not the guy he used to be. But very well deserved. And the one thing I'll say before we move on to the main topic of today's show, our top 10, which I'm not going to spoil, although I think we teased it enough for the last 3 weeks. But it's nice to see a real Hall of Fame come back. People that seem to be very deserving.
Mhm.
My one bitch is put the Midnight Express in, you cowards. I
And
love
demolition.
Wyndham. I love Rotunda. Well, they sued the company, but
Well, who
I love
cares?
I love Wyndham. I love Rotunda. They should both go in by themselves. They should go in with the Varsity Club and the Horsemen. Go ahead, give them 3 or 4 of them. I don't care, but put the Midnight Express in. Dennis Condrey, Bobby Eaton, Sweet Stan, and hell, put Randy Rose in there and then have Jim Cornette come and finish it off. Favorite picture I have in wrestling, one of, I've got a lot, but one of is me with all 4 members plus Cornette of the Midnight Express before Bobby died. So
Well,
I
quick
have
story.
that
Quick
was pretty
story.
cool.
That is pretty cool. Quick story. Speaking of that, when I went to Dynamite a couple of weeks ago, I got all turned around and I wasn't sure where I was supposed to sit. And I went to the wrong section and I sat down and I look over and I'm sitting right next to Dennis Condrey. And I thought, this is great. Then I realized you are completely on the wrong side of the ring. So I didn't get to sit next to him the whole show. I guess it was his wife. I said, "Hey, is this section 106?" And she goes, "No, this is 102. You want over there." And then I found my way to my seat. But anyway, do you know what Thursday was, sir? Do you happen to know what day Thursday was? It was
Mm.
National Cereal Day. And let me tell you, I can't keep cereal in my house. I don't buy it because if I start eating a box of cereal, it's not lasting through the night. I'm going to down the whole thing. My stomach's going to start hurting. Cereal is fantastic. And why am I telling you this, Andrew? I think people should be able to figure it out by now, right?
I would hope so. And I also love cereal. Am a connoisseur. And from what I understand, I have threatened voting privileges. And after this episode, we might actually do it and pull the voting privileges from our listeners.
But
So,
anyway, let me introduce it for real now. The top 10 cereals are what we're going to run down today. And there's going to be some arguments. I've already seen this top 10 because I have to put it together. And it's not going to take long until we're going to hear some complaints. Number 10, here it is. Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Sir, you've been talking about Raisin Bran for weeks. Tell me what you think about Raisin Bran being on this poll, sir.
well, number one, it doesn't belong. Like CM Punk in professional wrestling. Get the fuck out of here with your Raisin Bran. Okay? Nobody cares about your Raisin Bran. Absolutely a trash cereal. Amy, I am looking at you. I know this is your fault. You rallied the troops to put Raisin Bran on the damn poll, or get it on the top 10. It is such a useless cereal. Cereal's supposed to be fun and happy and sugar.
And have toys and stuff in there.
And this shit's got raisins, not toys, okay?
So Cyrus also agrees with you here. When he saw Raisin Bran, he thought I don't remember the exact quote. My son Cyrus, for those who don't know, my 10-year-old, and he said Raisin Bran is horrible.
Yeah. I mean, Raisin Bran is the New York Mets of cereal, for Pete's sake, okay? It's not even close to wearing the pinstripes. And I'm telling you all, I will revoke voting privileges. I know you think I'm joking, but this will be a top 10 done just multiple times by you and me if people aren't careful. This damn Raisin Bran, Jeff Hardy on the poll last week. That's it. Raisin Bran is the Jeff Hardy of face painted wrestlers.
I gotta be honest with you.
I
figured out the polling thing allows you to export a spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to see, I don't see the names of the people, but I get to see by number a spreadsheet of who voted what. Somebody voted Raisin Bran number 1.
You know it was that damn Amy, and I'm going to get her. I am going to get her for the Raisin Bran. I am not getting a physical yet. I am not watching my blood pressure, and I am not eating Raisin Bran.
All right, let's go to number 9 before he has a heart attack. Number 9, honeycomb, and I love honeycomb. You don't like honeycomb? What is wrong?
Oh my god,
honeycomb is great.
There are at least 9 other cereals better than that, and 10. Yeah. I mean, you guys are disappointing me with this. Honeycomb is okay. It is okay.
The producer also says gross. Yeah, I'm outnumbered here.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like honeycomb, you had to actually buy
this
honeycomb.
Is probably top 3 for me.
They didn't have the multi-meal bags. You know what I'm saying? The big gimmicks
the bags.
Yeah. They didn't have those in honeycomb. So,
they had the giant box of honeycomb. That's what we were
huge box, huge. And you got to make sure you get the 2-for-1 special and use your coupons to annoy the motherfucker like me behind you, who's in a hurry. But you got to pull your coupons out for your damn honeycomb. This is absolutely absurd. I don't know who's voting for this now. Did somebody put
right here?
Did somebody put honeycomb in the top 3, sir?
I put honeycomb in the top 3, I believe.
Well, you're fired.
I would have to go back.
No more voting for you. I tolerated the
It's probably going to get worse.
I tolerated the anti-Saban talk long enough, and now you're going to put honeycomb on a list.
It is fantastic.
I mean,
I know that our listeners agree with me.
Lucky Charms, Frosted Flakes, Cocoa Puffs, Honey Grams, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Apple Jacks, Cheerios, the puffed rice gimmick, Rice Krispies. Just put three
rice gimmick.
Yeah, smacks. I just named 10 cereals better than honeycomb. Get out of here with that nonsense.
Number 8, and it's going to get worse. Frosted Mini Wheats. Proof that if you frost anything, people will eat it. And I love them. I got to be honest with you. Don't give me mini wheats without frosting them, but I will eat the hell out of a bowl of frosted mini wheats.
I'm beginning to think this is a rib. Like our audience, who I adore, appreciate, respect, and thank every week for listening to us. This has got to be a rib. because these are three trash cereals in a row. And by the way, the producer has it correct. I would just as soon chew on a cardboard box than I would break out a bowl of frosted mini wheats,
So
milk, no milk, frost or no frost.
my mom used to eat shredded wheat, not the frosted kind, one
Nah.
big, huge piece in a bowl, and you chop it up and put milk on it. And I don't see how you do that. I need the frosting, but once you put that frosting on there, I'm all over it.
There's
And
five healthy.
Even the fruit filled ones are great. The small fruit filled version, I loved those as a kid.
There are five healthy options that are better than that one too. This is absolute. My heart rate is only 74 for anybody worried about me stroking right now. Damn, Terry.
Number 7.
There
maybe
we
this
go.
will impress you. Fruit Loops.
About time. The cereal of the gays. Look at the rainbow colors.
I did not choose this one. I'm not a fruit. I'll say at the moment, I am not a fan of fruity cereals.
Listen, this is the cereal of my people. You got the fruit, you got the loop, you got the sugar, you got the rainbow colors. I mean, we're during Pride Month, the Fruit Loops are everywhere, and I'm not just talking about the edible kind. They come out of the woodwork.
Oh boy.
Wave your flags, it's okay. I said flags, that's FLAGS. Let's not offend anybody tonight. Fruit Loops are a staple cereal for children. And obviously, you were raised by monsters because they like shredded wheat and you like frosted mini wheats and honeycombs. The one thing my parents were okay with the Fruit Loops. Okay. Now, we don't do that Fruity Pebble bullshit, but Fruit Loops, we're on time.
Let's move along, sir, because you said something. Captain Crunch. What do you think about Captain Crunch? Because this is another one of my favorite, except for the bleeding roof of my mouth. I love Captain Crunch.
Yeah, so it's really a hard cereal to chew, Captain Crunch is. But now are we doing
but it's great.
Captain Crunch or does Captain Crunch
it's
the
whole
count?
family. It's the whole family here.
Okay.
Now, I did differentiate, and this is all on me. If you guys disagree, if you vote on our polls and you think that there should have been some separation, okay, it's not that big a deal. I put the whole family in right here, and we voted it number 6.
Yeah, so Captain Crunch, obviously Colossal Berry's best. I don't care what the producer says. You can put peanut butter on anything. That's right, Allison Faye. Asshole Andy's back. You can put peanut butter on anything and it tastes good, but the Colossal Berry really sets off the crunch. And y'all are right. The best thing you can do after you eat Colossal Crunch is get you some glass of water and some salt and rinse your mouth out because you might have a couple of cuts and tears and infections up there because it is a tough cereal to eat. But that's why you got to get
really
milk.
Taste the iron in here.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what kind of gimmick they were taught, but when they put the crunch, they meant it. Okay.
Oh, it's awesome.
They ain't gonna let it get soggy.
Love it.
So Captain Crunch is on my list. Fruit Loops was on my list. Good. We're starting to pick up here. Maybe I'll
a little bit more impressed.
You're
gonna hate some more. You're already gonna hate some more. Number 5, Corn Pops, another of my favorites.
I could do okay with these, but we never bought the name brand. So yeah. We had the gimmick, the bag, the multi-meal bag, and they were Pops or whatever. Corn Pops are okay.
Oh, corn.
Are they a 5? Absolutely not. But they belong on the list. It's okay. They're on this list. I'm all right with that. But I got to have my Pops. Okay. Remember the commercial? The kid.
That's right.
He'd always, they're always late for school or doing something. I got to have my Pops.
These felt so lightweight. You would eat a whole bowl and feel like you did nothing. Then I would eat another whole bowl. Then I would eat another whole bowl, and I would just dominate it.
Other than Fruit Loops, there is not a second bowl cereal on that list for me right now. Not one.
Good
not
Lord.
One.
We completely
right
disagree about this. Number 4, Lucky Charms.
Okay. All right. They're magically delicious.
I'm okay with this being 4. It's not my number 4. I don't think I ranked it in the top 10. It's okay. I'm not much on these cereals that are like a marshmallow and then some other thing. Because, who's eating a big bowl of the non-marshmallow Lucky Charms, right? Those pieces were horrible.
Yeah,
it's all about the marshmallows.
I love those pieces with the marshmallows. But here's the real gimmick, and I know this is not on the list. but a stoner, a friend of the family, somebody made Lucky Charms meets Cocoa Puffs. And what they did is they stuck only the marshmallows in the Cocoa Puffs. Okay. Now you talk about a top shelf cereal. It didn't make the list. I know it's not on the list because I saw the list. But they did Cocoa Puffs and Lucky Charms marshmallows, Terry. And that shit is top shelf. You talk about something back in the day, I'd catch me half a buzz and I could tear me up a mixing bowl of Cocoa Puffs with the marshmallows. That's how much I like
Well, I got to tell you, you did bring it up. And one thing about cereal we're not really getting into here is the best combinations of two cereals, because that can be freaking amazing.
Well, it ain't any of them bottom ones you're going to mix with anything. Please tell me you mix Frosted Mini Wheats or Raisin Bran with some shit. Please.
No, not those.
Please.
Honeycomb, yeah.
With what? What do you mix
I don't
honeycomb
know.
with?
I would. It brings sweetness to that milk. I'm gonna throw some. I don't know.
The reason I'm the sauce is I bring
Whatever's in the
sweetness.
cupboard.
Hey, the reason I'm the sauce is I bring sweetness to your day, but right now you're getting the spicy version because you were way out of line with this nonsense. This is the fuego version of the sauce tonight. I don't know who voted on this list, but this is an absolute rib to me because I made it very clear that none of that garbage belonged on the list and somehow it made the list. So y'all fired. I'm telling you, fired on this list.
Get geared up and get ready. Number 3, Fruity Pebbles. Here's what I don't get, because you already made your statement about it. I knew it was coming. This is the only fruity cereal this is my number one. My number one, Fruity Pebbles. I could eat 5 boxes tonight.
Well, you're a monster. So there's that.
They are amazing.
Absolutely not. Fruit Loops is where it's at for the Fruity Pebble. Fruity Pebbles texture.
Teaming up on me again, you bunch of jerks.
That Fruity Pebbles nonsense where the texture is just not right. It's not quality cereal.
Oh, that's the best part. It all sticks together.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Great.
No. Fruit Loops, you get the nice crunch at the beginning, you get a little soggy in the middle, and then at the end, they're nice and soft. Fruity Pebbles are hot garbage from the beginning. Not worth eating. I'm certainly not paying $7.84 in Biden's America for a box of Fruity Pebbles, so forget about it. Give me my Fruit Loops.
I love these to the point where I was sitting on a couch next to our fish tank in Auburn, Alabama in college. And I look over and I see the fish food, which looks a lot like Fruity Pebbles. And I thought, I need to go to the grocery store right now and buy me a box of Fruity Pebbles.
How drunk and or high were you? Because that's some shit I would have pulled.
Oh boy, there's no telling back then. Number 2, Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
There you go.
This one's very good. No, man, that's a horrible quality of that logo. I really stretched that out. It's looking horrible.
It probably doesn't deserve the 2 spot, but it belongs on the top 10. Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Could eat a bunch of these.
Now, there are right now 2. Count them. No, 3. I give you 3 of the 9 that I would have a second bowl of. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is definitely it. Then you get the milk with the little cinnamon gimmick and the sugar and all that, and you drink it. Oh, absolutely.
I'm with you, producer, because you're asking. Producer is asking about life. I think she probably lost you at least on Crackling Oat Bran, but I loved Crackling Oat Bran. I just don't know that I could afford a box of it all the time. But life was pure sugar, and that's why we like it so much.
Yeah, I need my sugary goodness, but there are several cereals that are not on this list, and you're all going to hear my final thoughts when we hit number 1. Well, Cinnamon Toast Crunch belongs on the list.
Frosted Flakes. And this is another proof that you will eat anything as long as it's sugared up.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about.
Cornflakes with sugar, basically, is what this is.
All right, so peek behind the curtain. We were going to, now I'm using the past tense, give our fans voting privileges for the top 10 football. I don't think that's happening. Frosted Flakes belongs on the list, but it ain't number 1. Where the hell are Honey Grams? Where's my puffed rice? Rice Krispies didn't make the list. Are you kidding me? What about
I like the comment from the producer. Just save your money and put sugar on cornflakes. Yeah, but it's more efficiently covered with the sugar because you know how it works. You get a bowl of cornflakes, you put sugar on there, you eat your cornflakes, and all your sugar's in the bottom of the bowl. I like my money more than efficiency. Is it more expensive? I have no idea.
Frosted Flakes belong on the list, but they don't belong this high. This is absurdity. We have children voting on this poll clearly because that is a child. Where is the Cocoa Puffs? Give me the Smacks.
There's nothing chocolate or peanut butter in the top 10.
What about the Honey Grams, the Reese's peanut butter cereal? You remember the one, Terry. Think about all of these that are not.
I'm not with you on that. I don't want the peanut butter, and I don't want the chocolate flavor. Take it out for me. But that's your top 10.
This is a rib. This is the only explanation, is that is a rib. 100%, that is a rib.
Well, I gotta say, I'm not with the Raisin Bran. I'll eat the Frosted Mini Wheats. I don't know that I put them in my top 10. I disagree with you on the Fruit Loops.
The fact that we even have to have the comment, I don't know that I'd put them in my top 10. Oh, we've got some disagreement here, sir. All right. I don't think that I'd put them in my top 10. I wouldn't fucking list them. I wouldn't even consider buying them. I wouldn't do a price check on the sons of bitches. And you over here, I don't think I'd put them in my top 10.
They're probably top 12.
Damn it, Terry. Stop it. Stop it. I can feel my heart palpitating. Good Lord. Like
Why don't we move along before Andrew has a heart attack? That's going to be the thing from now on. We don't worry about the clock. Let's see what his heart's doing, and that's what tells us to move along. Let's talk about the guy that we saw almost naked the other night. Our champ of the week is John Cena, and we picked him as a champ of the week before he showed up at the Oscars, and that was a big coincidence. Andrew, why don't you tell us the good things that John Cena has done?
John Cena is an amazing human being, a funny individual. He does a lot of work for children, and the thing is that he does most is he grants make-a-wishes. He's done more than anybody in the history of the foundation. 650 make-a-wishes. Now,
crazy amount.
That people say, oh, that's over 20 years. That's 650. Blah blah blah. That's a long blood. Whatever. It's not that many.
That's 3 a month or something with quick math, if I'm anywhere close.
But let's put it in perspective. It's 3 dying children that do not have a chance of living that he visits every month. It's not the number that matters. Right. It's why he does it. So he is in the Guinness Book of World Records for Make-A-Wish. You can all Google and fact check me. Fantastic. It's fine. 650. Never slowed down.
That is an insane number for that amount of time.
Always made time during his wrestling, and he was the face of the wrestling company for a very long time.
Yeah, definitely. Always
made time to see the kids, did not slow down from Hollywood, and he continues to be a flag bearer for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It's funny, we bookend Cena with the NEKKID and the Make-A-Wish, right. But he is like the perfect human being that way. We all have different things about us, and when you mix them all together, that's what you get, is the entire human. And John Cena is a class individual all the way. I couldn't visit one terminally ill child as a quote celebrity or person. He's done it 650 times. And I say he's done it 650 times. He's granted the wishes, if that was the wish. But what was the wish was to meet John Cena and get pinned by him in the ring, or to do this or to do that. You meet the kids more than once. You see them more than once. It is incredible that he would it was incredible that he has such a track record that he could possibly, and an emotional capacity. That's what I'm really trying to get at here. There are people that are built differently that can handle this sort of thing. He's one of them. Because who wants to go visit a dying child? And I know I've said that several times, but
it's tough. I mean, I can't imagine 650 times. We're talking about these kids that, they're asking for something, knowing what's ahead of them.
And 650 families
Right.
650 moms, 650 dads. I mean, you're talking this is huge,
It
huge,
is.
huge, huge. But I
So
am
good.
so happy that we made him our champ of the week. And it is ironic because we did it before he was naked at the Oscars.
And it was a
Which,
little bit accidental. Maybe we'll tell that story at some point.
well, it we
But
will when
he's
we
well
we will
deserved.
when we grant the other champ of
Right.
the
Yeah,
week.
we'll tell it when we talk about the other guy eventually. But you know what? We talked a little bit last week about the future of the podcast. We're primarily going to stay the same as we are, but we're joining forces with two friend podcasts, Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave and the Filter Free Popcast. We've talked about a little more details, and we actually have a name for the network now. So the network, we are going to go with Wrestling and More.
I'm
That
going
was
with Team
just decided.
Ramrod, but
That
I
was
guess
decided a couple of days ago. We're working on a logo. Obviously, that'll be rolled out. We will associate it with our stuff. And it is wrestling with an R, so it's RAM, Wrestling and More. We're getting a buddy to make the logo. It's we have a lot of confidence in him, and we feel it's going to be fantastic. And we'll put it on all our stuff. We'll report as part of the Wrestling and More network, and we're really excited to see what kind of stuff that we're going to get into with them. We're going to roll that out, I think, April, and we'll have more details as the weeks go and as we create content and think about what the Patreon is going to look like. So we'll get that information to you.
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I love wrestling with Pondwater Dave. Terry messed up, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the South. It is not wrestling. It is wrestling, and we are wrestling and more, not wrestling and more. For those of you playing along
I
at home,
think I said Wrestling and More, and I'm going to go back and listen to it.
you said
My Meemaw
wrestling
would be upset
more.
with me. And let me tell a real quick story before we close out. Because of wrestling, my Meemaw kept me focused on the NWA. And I've said that multiple times. I was a fan of Vince when in the 80s when I was a kid, but my Meemaw made me focus on the Clash of Champions, made me focus on the shows on TBS. She kept my focus there. We were sitting in the back row at church one day, and the preacher comes and starts talking to us. And my Meemaw says, "Preacher, do you like wrestling?" And he said, "No, ma'am, I don't like wrestling." And I was like, maybe I don't like this preacher too much. But anyway, it's been a good show with you, Andrew, as always. And we got the beautiful Allison Faye as the producer now, and that's been fantastic, keeping us on our game, throwing shots at us here and there, telling you to calm down because you're going to have a heart attack and that kind of thing. It's
Should
going
have
to
seen
be
me at
great.
Sam's Club. Look, for those people on our show, I need everybody to cheer and root for me, pray for me, give me some positive thoughts. Because my new nemesis in life, my dad died I guess getting on a month ago. He told me not to take life so seriously. But this is serious business. My new nemesis in life has now become the Walton brand. Be that Sam's Club or Walmart. These are the places I spend my disposable income. And it's on groceries. And a-hole Andy from the city comes out every once in a while before or after we go to Sam's Club. And I think the blood pressure was 290 today, going into Sam's Club and dropping $150 on 14 items. I about had a conniption, like 100% conniption. But so don't take life so seriously, folks. I'm only joking. Although it is where I spend all my disposable income, apparently, is the grocery store. We have a good time. We have fun. I can't wait to have more fun. We're going to do some crossover events and that stuff, rolling it out with WrestleMania and that sort of thing. Technical difficulties or not, we will get a
We'll
show
figure it out. We'll get
somehow.
a show
That's
to you.
right.
Might
We
be
will
a
get a
day
show.
late, but we'll get it to you.
What the
But
hell?
you know
Yesterday
what? It's
was
been
awful.
fun tonight, and we'll figure it out. We'll get past that. Thank you, Andrew, for doing another show with me.
My
Thank
pleasure,
you,
buddy.
Allison, for showing up for us tonight and helping us not go 3 hours. And as I like to say, as always, love your people. Tell them you love them. Make it weird.
Make it weird.
We'll see you guys next time. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you for listening. We are TNA Top 10 on all social media. I'm TWeave79. He's 30-year fan. We're available weekly where you get your podcasts. Like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.